Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, and today we're going to talk about our most favorite project, Cardano. Is that right, I Man?
Most favorite, I guess, as of today, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're converts officially.
Well,
I don't know, dude. We made a video like a month ago.
I don't know if it was that long ago. I don't know.
Dude, it feels like a month ago. Maybe it was like last week or something.
Yeah.
Out of that. I don't remember. I mean, the general sentiment was I was using my history with the
Prior
project,
history. Yeah.
right, leading up to my sentiment at the time. So now we're doing a little bit more research. Things are starting to emerge. You know, the things that were lacking a couple weeks ago whenever we were first evaluating Cardano as a project, but now we're starting to see some signs of, kind of like the same signs that we saw with Polkadot and the same signs that exist in like Cosmos and Elrond. It's just an ecosystem is forming.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about it last, we couldn't find not a single shred of evidence of a project like building on Cardano, like within at least an earshot of just like doing some surface level research. And then all of a sudden now, any research into Cardano, all of a sudden we see all these projects like spawning out of thin air. So this is like a coordinated drop by Cardano and like all the partnerships involved. So we're here to talk about, apparently, according to NASDAQ, it says we need to take Cardano seriously. And so we saw this headline. We're like, okay.
Very, very seriously, dude.
Yeah, very, very seriously. I guess the main takeaway of this particular article is, well, Cardano exists. Charles Hoskinson used to work with Vitalik and friends and build Ethereum, and now he built Cardano. And in 2015, he knew that scaling was going to be an issue, and as a result, Cardano. So
and Polkadot, because Gavin was also part of that core team
for sure.
There's some other like fragmentation that happened. I've said there was like a core team of probably like 7 or 8 people. Now it's just Vitalik and friends. Those core guys. They all had different approaches, I guess, or ideas of how we should scale these blockchains. So they just said, "Fuck it, let's just build our own."
Right.
Which is that in itself is like a really cool story. Like hopefully Hollywood picks up on this story 10, 15 years from now, whenever all these ecosystems are like, $1 trillion foundational backbones of the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then like, how did it all started? Who's gonna play Vitalik, dude? Fucking Michael Cera's kid?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess one of the main takeaways from Cardano's like objective in terms of its position in the ecosystem is that because Ethereum has an inability to scale, then we have a proof of stake version of Cardano that could potentially do 1 million transactions per second. So if you go back to watch our interview with Andreas Antonopoulos, we were talking about scaling issues in Ethereum, and he says that scaling is always going to be an issue. And no matter how scalable you make a particular blockchain, there's going to be some game or something that just chokes the network, and then you're going to have a whole new conversation about scaling issues in that situation. So I don't know if scaling is such a detriment in the sense that Cardano is like the Ethereum killer or Polkadot's the Ethereum killer. I think Ethereum could solve those issues from a technical level, but there's still a community around Cardano. There's still a community around Polkadot. Those are going to be ecosystems, and all of them have a bridge to Ethereum. So at the end of the day, it's just going to be up to users to do their own research and figure out exactly if staking in Cardano makes more sense than Ethereum, or using a DeFi project on Cardano is better than Ethereum, right? It's going to be an equal level of competition, in other words.
Yeah, but the thing that's interesting is that, like, you're right in the sense that at some point, no matter what ecosystem exists, there's going to become a choking point, But in the near short term, like this space moves so quickly, and like liquidity kind of moves so seamlessly. It's kind of like the nature of crypto, right? Like you can migrate assets from wherever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Like at the blink of an eye, almost. At least ideally, you don't have to wait weeks for like large sums of capital to be transferred to another location, right? We're not talking about country to country. We're talking about protocol to protocol or blockchain to blockchain.
Yeah,
it can happen very quickly. So
for sure,
these new ecosystems, they are leveraging that opportunity of like, okay, you guys really like DeFi, you guys really want to be degens and shit. Well, we could do the exact same thing Ethereum does, but in a much more scalable environment. So it does matter today, So that gives them the opportunity to siphon away the network effects, siphon away the developers, because developers, as we know, they only go where the money is, you know. So
Absolutely.
if the people decide I'd rather be on Cardano and bring my capital there because it's cheaper, it's more efficient, it's faster, you're going to see developers migrate there too because there's opportunity there. You know, there's a whole user base to tap into, dude. Like we're talking. I don't know how big the Cardano community is, dude. It's pretty fucking big. You
Yeah, it
know,
is.
like I hear them all the time. Like they've concocted this like monster of a show factory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the last time we talked about Cardano, we were skeptical. I mean, the most optimistic view of our perception of Cardano was being skeptical about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt the force of Thor's hammer in our comment section about Cardano being like the second coming of blockchain, right?
That's right. That's right.
Um,
So we're not like that's not why we're making this video, right? It's not like we've felt the pressure to
oh
make
no, for
this.
sure.
This is
But
like genuine, like we're starting to see some things that are changing our sentiment a little bit. You know?
100%. Yeah, and it was just a comment on the community of Cardano, right? They're extremely supportive and they're rather large
And passionate, you know.
passionate.
And
Yeah.
there's a reason to be passionate. That there is, this is like an X factor that a lot of projects don't have, dude. It's the man at the helm. You know,
Yeah.
the actual public figure himself, the Charles Hoskins, dude. That guy, I'm telling you, man, he is literally Steve Jobs reincarnated, dude. Like I think he might actually, I think that might actually be a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Steve Jobs' soul is in his body. Like the way he talks,
Yeah.
all the language is like identical. Like you know, the mannerisms are there. It's captivating, right? And I think
Yeah.
that fuels a lot of this passion for this community.
Just to kind of draw some parallels between Cardano and Ethereum, just like we've drawn parallels of Ethereum projects or any other blockchain that exists, they're going to have primitives exist on that same blockchain. And so one of those primitives for Cardano's case is called Liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And so what project do you think Liquid is more like? Aave?
Aave and Compound, yeah, in the sense, you know,
Okay.
DeFi starts with loans and lending and stuff like that. So I think that's what this specific application is going to focus on.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like all the other, you know, blockchains like Binance Smart Chain, you saw like the first things being released were these, you know, Aave copycats, you know, Compound copycats. It's just these things roll out in like a nice little orderly fashion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So I wonder, you know, what sort of new things that could come from having a completely scalable blockchain underpinning your project?
Good question, dude. That's one of the unknowns, right?
That is. Yeah, because if you consider Ethereum like the main settlement layer, just like Visa is using Ethereum for a settlement layer, you can only think of use cases where spending $100 for a transaction is cheap, right? And so when you're moving like $100 million worth of DeFi transactions, $100 per transaction in that scenario makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't make a lot of sense for when you're moving like microtransactions on it. So I think this could be like a hub of innovation that is yet to be seen, just because the infrastructure allows it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of the purpose to identify this now. And they're not coming out and saying Cardano is like the investment opportunity of a lifetime, just because it seems already largely overinflated because of the community is like anticipating what we're talking about. So they've been buying the token up until this point. You know, it's the same thing we say about Polkadot. We're not saying go buy Polkadot. We're saying keep your eye on the ecosystem that's going to emerge from Polkadot and now Cardano, and like you're going to have tons of opportunity there to, you know, get in early on those, you know, those individual ecosystems.
We've seen a proof of concept of this with Binance Smart Chain. There's exact copies of Ethereum protocols on Binance Smart Chain that have done 100x in like a week.
That 300x.
300x's.
My neighbor Alice, we just made a video on my neighbor Alice. It's a Binance. That's basically Binance's first metaverse, right?
Yeah.
So any protocol or projects that's the first anything on these new chains, it's going to be a hit.
Yeah.
You know? So on Cardano, who's going to be the first incubator platform similar, you know, to Polkastar or something like that? And you know, I think there's one listed called like Occam Finance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. So you want to pay attention to the first incubator, right? Because this, more than likely, you're going to see a ton of projects come from Occam.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so Occam, I mean, that's one that just announced recently, and they're going to drop on Cardano on April 10th. So this is coming up.
Very soon, actually, right?
Yeah, very soon. A couple of, like, less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, so things are progressing, you know, and it seems like, you know, we're less than a few months away. Similar to Polkadot, we're a few months away from Polkadot and Cardano really hitting the market at force. You know, and I mean, those two are neck and neck with each other, top 5 protocols in the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean,
there's a reason they're top 5, right?
What's that?
There's a reason they're top 5, right?
I think it's mostly their community. Yeah.
Yeah.
Communities, because they're both unreleased blockchains.
Yeah.
But they're both top 5, so they've done a good job onboarding this community of support. So as soon as these smart contracts become live and then the applications go live, they're not going to have any difficulty onboarding users. You know, the users are there, they're waiting with their bags of capital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're ready to start spending. So I think that's going to be the fuel for like the summer mania that we're going to see.
Damn, that's so true, man.
Yeah.
And another update from Cardano here's block production hits 100% decentralized March 31st. So their consensus algorithm is called Ouroboros, and it's essentially a proof of stake algorithm where it's like a delegated proof of stake where it's randomly selects an epoch spans over 5 days. And within that epoch, there's a random selection of a block producer. And within those 5 days, that block producer produces blocks for the chain. And so through that mechanism, you could sustain, roughly 1 million transactions per second, according to, their explanation of Ouroboros. So, so now, I mean, tomorrow, March 31st, they're going to be completely 100% decentralized. So, I mean, that's pretty huge.
Yeah,
and
dope.
It's definitely
Congrats all y'all who've been, waiting for that for the last 4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
Like things are happening, man. It's exciting to see. I think ultimately, it's cool. It's a good thing that we're seeing all these different ecosystems emerging so long as they play nicely with one another. You know what I mean?
So long as they bridge to Ethereum, in other words.
Yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? We were talking about this off cam. Like, why is this happening? Like, it wasn't like this, right? Whenever the internet was forming, there wasn't so much fragmentation.
No.
Right? Like you were saying, somebody needs to come out with a standard bridging protocol.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that all these chains can communicate and it's not like so siloed. But there's a reason for this, right? It's the tokenomics aspect that creates this division,
Yeah, yeah. As useful as tokens are in incentivizing users to participate in a network, it also disincentivizes collaboration because all of a sudden, if you collaborate, then your token doesn't appreciate as much in value in the sense that they're not using your protocol everywhere else, right? So
yeah, I guess like it's hard to get past that initial resistance. Like if you're you're a Cardano token holder, you don't want to see Ethereum thrive. You want to crush Ethereum because you want your tokens to be perceived as more valuable than Ethereum is.
Yeah.
Like I want to flip Ethereum one day. Like that's the general sentiment if you're going to get from the Cardano community, which I think is it's not a healthy approach, but it makes sense. Like we said, the token aspect incentivizes that kind of behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think back in the day when the internet protocols were being developed, I think there was a level of Manhattan Project-esque of collaborating and figuring out what IP, TCP, IP, and all those protocols that we use today on the internet were for every single, internet node, right, server out there. And I don't know, man, it feels like we need to have like some degree of like collaboration, independent collaboration where there's not necessarily a winner and a loser. It's just, this is how we blockchain, right? You use these protocols and then that's it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
I think we're headed in that direction.
I think inevitably we might have to, but so far, because it doesn't make sense to have the Ethereum network and then we have the Polkadot network and then we have Cardano. Like, I don't know if that really makes sense in the long scheme of things.
I see.
So another thing, Alonzo testnet available in April. So now you'll be able to test a bunch of applications and a bunch of projects being on Cardano.
Yeah, did we talk about the $500 million freaking bag that's just sitting there?
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, so I was showing the page for that. So nearly $500 million worth of Cardano and Project Catalyst funds now in the treasury.
Yeah, that's a lot of loot, dude.
Oh yeah.
And like I said earlier, developers largely go where the money is. So if once they catch wind, there's this new environment with $500 million up for grabs. Start making your proposals now, like how you're gonna change the world with your Cardano app.
Yep.
Get that $2 million grant.
Yeah.
Build that team, build that project. So it's definitely in the works, dude.
Yeah.
They're set up pretty good.
That's a lot of money. And we were huge on EOS back in the day, and they had $4 billion in their portfolio.
War chest.
Yeah, in their war chest back when it was during the bear market. So they should have, a ton more value now in this bull market. So, but we're not hearing anything.
They hit the market, right? Like in 2018 with this scalable blockchain, with this giant purse of funds, So yeah, you would expect. So yeah, there's no guarantee. Like all these things we're talking about Cardano right now is going to lead up to some kind of like booming ecosystem, because we've seen it in the past. Like
that's right.
We've seen EOS with even more resources and a just as large of a community at the time.
Yeah,
fully not deliver.
That's right. That's right.
So the potential is there. Like all these Ethereum killers could still fail at the end of the day.
That's right.
It's possible. So you might get your wish, dude. Be like, it makes no sense to have all these other chains. Maybe they do just fizzle out in the future, and we just stick to Ethereum.
Yeah, they might. I mean, it's hard to know for sure.
Yeah.
Last thing that we'll talk about is from Cardano right there. It says, be careful out there, Cardano community. In the crypto world, it is important and to be extra cautious. Do your own research and don't fall for pages like ADA Yield Finance. So apparently this has no affiliation to Cardano, but yet they're making themselves look like they are. So just like every other blockchain platform out there, you have to do your own research. Don't just ape into projects. There's a comment here from CardStarter or about cardstarter.io. They're supposed to be affiliated with Cardano, but there's no confirmation at all. So before you ape in,
promising, they sound like promising potential investments, but they could be rug pulls in the making. So I mean, this is definitely ripe for fraudulent activity. So do your own research, before you invest in anything.
Yep. All right, guys, that's it for us talking about Cardano. Let us know what you think. I know a lot of you guys are supportive of Cardano. If we missed anything, let us know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter @TheBlockRunner and also at MetaZone.io, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.